The Adventures of Tom Sawyer by Mark Twain. Longman Simplified English Series. Read by Pishichai Nopakau. Chapter 26. Lost in the Cave. Now to return to the chair of Tom and Becky in the picnic. They danced along the passage with the rest of children, visiting the familiar wonders of the cave, such as Aladdin's palace and the castle hall. When the game of hide and seek began, Tom and Becky played until they lost interest in it. Then they wandered down winding passage, holding their candles up and reading the network of names. Date and addresses done in candle smoke on the rocky walls. They went on and on, smoked their own names under an overhanging shelf and proceeded. Presently, they came to a place where a little stream of water had, throughout the centuries, formed a filmy waterfall in sparkling stone. Tom pressed his small voice behind it to light it up for Becky, and found that it high and sort of steep. Natural stairway enclosed between narrow walls. At once, the ambition to be a discoverer seized him. They made a small mark for future guardians and would this way and that, far down into the depth of the cave. In one place, they found a wide hole, from the roof of which hung a great number of shining white pillars of stone. After wondering and admiring, they left it by one of the numerous passages that opened into it. This soon brought them to a lovely spring, the basin of which seemed to be decorated with sparkling diamonds. It was in the mouth of a cave where great columns rose from the floor to meet those from the roof. Some had already joined. The children marveled at this result of ceaseless water drift of century. Under the roof, baths had packed themselves together, thousands in a bunch, and they came flocking down in hundreds, dashing furiously at the candles. Tom seized Becky's hand and hurried her into the first passage they come to, and by turning into every new passage, they at last got rid of the troublesome creatures. Then Tom found an underground lake which stretched away until its shape was lost in the shadows. He wanted to explore its waters, but decided that it would be best to sit out and rest for a time. Now, for the first time, the stillness of the place laid its damp and cool hand upon the mind of children. "I wonder how long we've been down here, Tom," said Becky. "We'll better go back." "Yes, I think we're better." "Can you find a way, Tom? It's all mixed up with me." "I think I can find it, but it's the best. If they put out both our candles, we'll be in an awful difficulty. Let's try some other way." They started off along a passage, looking at each new opening to see if there was anything familiar about it. But they were all strange. "Oh, Tom, never mind the beds," said Becky at last. "Let's go back the way." We seemed to get worse and worse all the time. Tom stopped. "Listen," said he. The silence was so deep that even their own breathing seemed loud. Tom shouted. The shout went echoing down the empty avenues and died out in the distance in a faint sound that was just like mocking laughter. "Oh, don't do it again. Tom is too hurried," said Becky. "It is hurried, but I better Becky. They might hear us, you know." And he shouted again. "They might." Was even a greater horror than a ghostly laughter. It confessed that hope was dying. They listened, but there was no result. They turned back, but certain indecision in his manner revealed another fearful face to Becky. He could not find his way back. "Oh, Tom, you didn't make any marks." "Becky, I was a fool. No, I can't find the way. It's all mixed up." Tom, we are lost. We are lost. We can never get out of this awful place. Oh, why did we leave the other?" She sang to the crowd and burst into such a dreadful storm of tears that Tom feared that she might go mad. When her weeping became a little less violent, he begged her not to give up hope. Then he began blaming himself. She told him not to talk like that again, for she was as much to blame as he was, she said. So they moved on aimlessly, for all they could do was to keep moving. After a time, Tom took Becky's candle and blew it out. Words were not needed. She knew that Tom has a whole candle and 3 or 4 pieces in his pocket. Yet he must use as little as possible. Then the children began to feel weary, but they tried to pay no attention. Moving was at last progress, and might have a good result, but to sit down was to invent certain death. At last Becky's weak limb refused to carry her any further. They sat down. They talked of home, of the friends there, and above all the sunlight, weariness weighed so heavily on Becky that she fell asleep, and Tom was grateful. He sat lost in thought of happier times. When Becky woke up, she gave a gay little laugh, but she stopped it suddenly, and a groan followed. Oh, how could I sleep? I wish I had never woke. No, no, Tom, I don't look so. I won't say that again. They rose and wandered along, hand in hand and hopeless. A long time after this, Tom said that they must go quietly and listen for deepling water, because they must find a spring. They found one, and Tom said that they must race again. Both were cruelly tried, yet Becky thought that she could go on a little further. She was surprised to hear Tom disagree. Nothing was said for some time. Then Becky broke the silence. Tom, I am so hungry. Tom took a big cake from his pocket and divided it. And Becky ate with good appetite. Tom pretended to eat his share. There was an abundance of cold water with which to finish the food. Soon Becky suggested that they should move on again. Tom was silent, and then he said, Becky, we must stay here, where there are water drinks. This little piece of candle is our last. Becky cried again. At length she said, Tom, will Becky? They'll miss us and search for us. Perhaps they're searching for us now. Why, of course they are. When would they miss us, Tom? When they got back to the boat, I suppose. Tom, it might have been dark then. Would they notice that we hadn't come? I don't know. Anyway, your mother would miss you as soon as they all got home. A frightened look in Becky's face made Tom remember she was not to have gone home that night. The Sunday's morning might be half spent before Mrs. Thatcher discovered that Baker was not at Miss Harper's. In a moment, a new burst of grief from Becky showed Tom that the thought in his mind had struck her also. The children fastened their eyes upon the bit of candle and watched it melt slowly and pitilessly away. They saw the little flame rise and fall, and then suddenly the horror of utter darkness enveloped them. How long afterward it was that Becky woke to find herself crying in Tom's arms, neither could tell. Tom said that it might be Sunday, or perhaps Monday. The hour crawled by, and again took captive, filled with hunger. Tom's share of the cake was decided and eaten, but it seemed to leave them hungrier than before. Presently Tom said, Shh, shh. Did you hear that? Both held their breaths. There was a sound like the faintest far-off shout. Instantly, Tom answered it. Again the sound was heard, and apparently a little nearer. "They are coming! Come along, Becky! We're all right now." The joy of the prisoners was almost unbearable. Their speech was low, however, because peace were rather common, and had to be guarded against. They soon come to one. Tom lay flat and reached down, but he could not touch the bottom. It might be 3 feet deep, it might be 100. They must stay there until the searcher came. They listened. The distant shoutings were growing more distant. A moment or two more, and they had gone altogether. The heart-breaking misery of it. Tom shouted until he throat ached, but it was of no use. He talked hopefully to Becky, but a long time passed and no sounds came. The children felt their way back to the spring. The time dragged on. They slept again and awoke hungry and miserable. Now Tom had an idea. It would be better to explore some of the side passage than to remain idle. He took his kite string from his pocket, tied one end to a big stone, and started with Becky, unwinding the line as they crawled along. At the end of 20 steps, the passage ended in a pit. Tom fell below and then as far round the corner as he could. At that moment, a hand holding a candle appeared from behind a rock. Tom gave a great shout, and instantly that hand was followed, but the body belonged to Redskin Joe's. Tom was turned to stone. Tom his immense relief the Spaniard. Tom told Becky that he had only shouted for lucky, and they crawled back to the spring. But hunger and misery after a time make one forget one's fears. Another wearisome wait and another long sleep brought change. The children awoke sick with hunger. Tom believed that it must be Wednesday or Thursday, or even Friday on Saturday now. He proposed to explore another passage. He felt willing to reach Redskin Joe and all other tourists, but Becky was so weak that she could not be brought. She said that she could know where she was and die. It would not be long. She told Tom to explore if he chose, but she begged him to come back from time to time and speak to her. She made him promise that when her last hour came, he would stay by her and hold her hand until all was over, which alarm in his truth. Tom pretended to be confident of finding the searchers or a way out of the cave, and wished the kite string in his hand, when crawling down one of the passages, sick with hunger and sorrow and visions of their coming fate.